1 week. One more week. I want to throw this phone into the ocean. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are less than 1 week away from the official start of the 2024 MLS season. That comes on Wednesday when Inter Miami play Real Salt Lake. And then the rest of the league starts on the weekend. So we're about a week away from that, Saturday and Sunday. Plenty of games, plenty of time sitting inside looking at many screens like the sickos we are. So we're going to ramp up some preview stuff. And I thought today would be a great day to go ahead and look at some wonder kids around the league. It's completely arbitrary. It's completely up to me here. So if you disagree with me, I'm sorry. I could be wrong. You could be right. I'm an idiot. We all know this. But so the rules that I came up with were, aged 20 or younger, essentially 2004 birth year. I kind of went back and forth over whether I wanted to do 21 or 20. And there's just so many good 2003s that it would have been difficult to go kind of deep cut on this. And hope there will be names that you know and maybe a couple that you don't know. So I thought that was more important, and the younger the better. But before we get started, I did want to shout out some of those 03s because, man, there's a lot of talent here. Here are the names that I have as the guys who just missed the cut because of 2003. Julian Aude, Jack McGlynn, Brian Gutierrez, Jalen Neal, Daniel Edelman, Nikola Petkovic, Dante Sealy, Tomas Angel, sorry, I Americanized him, Diego Luna, and Diego Gomez. A couple ones that I want to talk about a little bit more. Jack McGlynn, one of my favorite players to watch. I got such a soft spot for dudes who aren't athletically, special, but man, his left foot, his vision, his culture, he's an awesome player. I can't wait to see where he goes next. Nikola Petkovic, this kid's really, really good. Charlotte FC threw him on their discovery list just before USA played Serbia last year. And after he was a standout player in his senior national team debut, and I heard, 8 or 10 teams went to go put him on discovery during that game and found out that Charlotte did it the day before. Charlotte got the deal done for $3 million. He spent last year in their second team. He's been officially elevated to the first team this year. Again, he's a first-team player. It was just about roster space, and they wanted to get the deal done before somebody else did. So that's what happened last year. I watched him a little bit in preseason in Coachella. He's awesome. He's going to be a destroyer. He's really good. I think he'll be a starter at some point soon. It's going to be difficult to break in a little bit because there's a couple good players in that midfield. But, man, he's going to be very, very good. Dante Sealy, left wing back season. That'd be pretty cool. Let's see how Nico Estevez kind of coaches him up. He scored a bunch of free kicks in preseason. Did not know he had that club in his bag. So well done by him. Diego Luna, again, another one of, the people's champion, extra time champion, Matt Doyle, Joe Lowry, John Mueller, a lot of people that I love and respect. All love this kid, as do I, but, I think that they're on the driver's seat, on the bandwagon. Can't wait to see what he does with Real Salt Lake this year. Diego Gomez was at the South American U23 Olympic qualifying tournament with Paraguay. He's a Paraguay international, Inter Miami. He's going to get plenty of burn this year. Again, plenty of other names I could keep on going about. Edelman, Angel, Neal, Gutierrez, and Aude, but I'm kind of already sick of hearing my own voice, and we haven't even gotten into the top 15. So let's get to the top 15. Let's get into the list. Number 15, Sergin Goma, New York Red Bulls homegrown. Number 14, Makai Atkimboni, DC United homegrown. And number 13, Brooklyn Reigns with the Houston Dynamo. These three, I'm just going to group them together here because I think that makes the most sense. These are three very talented young players who hopefully maybe should be breaking into the first team to different degrees this year. All three have had their MLS debuts. All three have looked impressive in their limited minutes. But again, it's been limited minutes. We'll start with Sergin Goma. I kind of went back and forth over whether I wanted him or Julian Hall, a fellow Red Bull player, on this. And I went with Sergin Goma just because he's a little older and athletically, man, he's off the charts. Like when he's got 2 goals in about 100 or whatever minutes in first team play. He didn't play at all in the regular season last year because of an injury. He's somebody that he just looks part of the first team when you see him play. And it's too bad that injuries have kind of hurt. Last year should have been his breakout, honestly. So this year, as long as he stays healthy, I think that'll happen. And I think that there's minutes to be had in that Red Bull attack. So I lean Sergin Goma, but again, Julian Hall, maybe he's a little bit further away. But Julian Hall, he looked a little bit more like a kid when he made his debut last year, but just getting on the field and playing fine is incredible because he's 15 years old or 16 this year. So that's what I'm thinking about Sergin Goma and why he's number 15. Number 14, Makai Atkimboni. Villarreal tried to sign him this winter. DC United didn't want to let him go. He made his debut as a 15-year-old, and that's incredible as is, but particularly so for center back. Center backs at that age don't get first-team minutes in a top-flight domestic league. Again, whether or not you think MLS is great or crap, a 15-year-old center back playing in, one of the next 14 leagues is pretty incredible, right? DC United haven't been great. There's been games that they conceded a lot of goals with him in the lineup, but again, making your debut so young as a center back is incredible. I've talked to people around the club who think the world of him. They had no interest whatsoever at agreeing a deal with Villarreal because they think his ceiling, his ability is just going to keep on going up. I have no idea why he wasn't on the US U17 World Cup team, but hey, that is what it is. There's only so many roster spots. I don't know how many minutes Mattia Camboni is going to get this year. DC United are in transition. They have every reason to play young players if he is indeed ready, but they do kind of have a glut of, let's just say, average center backs. Like, they have a lot of veterans that seem to be interchangeable that'll probably get opportunities before Mattia Camboni. But look, Troy Lezane is a coach that will play youth, so we'll see. Number 13, Brooklyn Reigns. I've heard a lot of great stuff about him this winter. He's somebody who's kind of come on my radar late this year. I know that he's been a very talented player, U.S. Youth International. He played for the Barcelona, Arizona Academy. When he signed for Houston, I knew that it was going to take a couple years for him to develop. That was their plan for him. But this preseason with Hector Herrera injured, they signed Jan Gregus, and it just made more sense if that guy, I assumed he was going to be the starter. But everybody I've talked to in Houston is like, no. Brooklyn Reigns has been awesome. We think he's going to be the star. We think he's going to break out. Look, I don't want to be putting words in Ben Olsen's mouth or anything. Like, if he doesn't start, that doesn't mean he doesn't rate him. But from what I'm hearing, Brooklyn Reigns has been a standout. He's a central midfielder, ball player. I think that he'll fit really well within their system. He had about 200 minutes in MLS play last year. He got more of his minutes in MLS Next Pro. And now is the time for him to hopefully break out. Look, Hector Herrera's out for weeks. He'll have a chance at a run of games and to prove to Ben Olsen that, when Hector Herrera comes back, I'm still going to be a valuable rotation player. I'm done with MLS Next Pro. I am an MLS player now. So we'll see how that goes. He's a player to watch at the beginning of the season. Next group are a couple new signings into MLS and a couple extremely talented young players with different pathways and different histories. Number 12, Fidel Barajas, Real Salt Lake. They signed him from Charleston Battery USL Championship this year. Number 11, Agustin Ojeda, NYCFC, signed from Racing Club. Starting with Barajas, 17 years old, Mexico Youth International, started for them at the U17 World Cup. He's also eligible for the United States, so keep that in mind. This creative wide player, he's not... I wouldn't call him, a necessarily traditional winger. He's, Diego Luna's kind of one of one, but he's going to get compared to Diego Luna a lot because Luna also came from USL to Real Salt Lake. He's also a little bit of he's definitely a non-traditional kind of 10 winger positionless creator. Fidel Barajas is a little bit more traditional, but more along the lines of Diego Luna from what I've seen. He had 4 goals and 9 assists in 2,000 minutes for Charleston in USL Championship last year. He was named the USL Championship Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, sorry. He's the biggest talent in USL, bar none, since Luna left. And I've spoke to people who kind of have him higher than Luna was when he was leaving USL. That's not a knock on Luna. That's just to tell you how highly Fidel Barajas is rated. Getting minutes for Real Salt Lake, he needs to be able to defend. He needs to work against the ball. If you don't do that, you don't play for Pablo Mastroeni. Simple as that. That being said, there's Diego Luna, there's Andres Gomez, there's Fidel Barajas, there's Mikel Chang. There's competition for sure, and he won't be given any minutes, right? He'll have to earn them. But he doesn't need to displace, multiple designated players or multiple veterans, right? He's going to have the chance to play minutes. I'm sure that they'll probably want to start with him in MLS Next Pro, just continue bringing him along. But, hey, if his preseason performances are anything to judge by, he's going to get some burn at the beginning of the season, and I'm curious to see how he adapts to MLS early on for a 17-year-old, again, coming to a new league. Augustin Ojeda was signed for up to $7 million. I believe it's $5.5 million up front plus another $1.5 million in add-ons from Racing Club to NYCFC. He had 3 goals and 2 assists in 1,200 minutes with Racing Club before his transfer. So NYCFC got ahead of this early. He didn't. It's not like he's played 4,000 minutes. He's somebody who is really just breaking into the first team. And if they're paying up to $7 million for him, that kind of shows you what kind of talent this kid is. And look, NYCFC, that front office, I have a ton of respect for. I don't think David Lee gets enough credit. The scouting department gets a ton of credit. City Football Group does. And when this team and this kind of umbrella go after young players, their success rate is really high. Just look at the players that have signed to NYCFC, the young players like Tati Castellanos, Gabby Pereira, and you kind of go on down the list. I have every expectation that Augustin Ojeda is going to be a very good player. What makes it difficult here is his pathway to minutes. Unlike Fidel Barajas, there are multiple senior kind of players and other highly rated young players that he's got to get through. Tyus Magno is still, Augustin Ojeda is left winger. Tyus Magno is still in this group. So is Hannes Wolf, Santi Rodriguez. One of Wolf and Rodriguez is going to play left winger. The other one's going to be a 10. So Magno, Wolf or Rodriguez, and Augustin Ojeda. Like, those three are all vying essentially for one spot, and it's going to be very difficult. Competition is good, right? But I'm not, like, I don't know if he's ahead of Tyus Magno on the depth chart right now. Maybe he is. Like, I assume he is if they spend so much money on him. But it's just not going to be so clear-cut to get minutes for him. But again, highly rated. They invested all this money in him for a reason, and I'm expecting that they're going to give him chances. Next group. These are very talented young players, and they should be breaking into the first team this year for real, all three of them. And I spent a lot of time trying to pronounce two of their names because I have messed it up routinely. So, number 10, New England Revolution winger Esmir Bayraktarovic. Number 9, NYCFC left back Christian McFarland. And number 8, Nimfasha Barichimas. That was better. Not quite as bad as I butchered it on my last video. And Nimfasha, brother, I am sorry. But these three are extremely talented young players. I'm grouping them all together because of their ceilings, because they haven't really broken into the first team yet, but I'm expecting that in 2024. Let's start with Esmir. 18 years old. He made his Revs debut last year. He made his U.S. national team senior debut this winter. He was with the U23s before that. When he was with the U23s, like, I knew he was talented, right? Like, but I was like, oh, is he at this level? Like, I was a little bit surprised that he made the U23 camps. And then I was watching the U23 games. I was like, oh no, this kid belongs with the best kind of young talents in this country. And then he made his senior national team debut, and his first touch, he was megging a Slovenian defender. So that shows his confidence. Seth McCumber, Blazing Musket, did a phenomenal feature on him, and one of the quotes was like, yeah, when he was playing with his friends, it wasn't about scoring goals, it was about embarrassing each other. So, I mean, just think about that when you watch him, because it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's how he plays. He's a baller, dude. Caleb Porter has already said he's our starting winger, so he's going to get minutes. He won it, he earned it. Dylan Barrera is going to come back at some point over the first half of the season, maybe around midseason. But I think Esmir is still going to play a big role. There's so many games to go around. Wingers come off the bench. He's going to impact the game. He's going to be a really valuable squad player and starter at the beginning of the season for the New England Revolution, who are going to be very good. This kid is a real player to watch. Christian McFarland, number 9, NYCFC, England Youth International. He's also eligible for the United States, but not only is he a regular with England camps, he's a starter, and I think he's captained them. From scouts I've talked to, it's like, yeah, he's one of the best players on the field whenever they play. So, yeah, he's eligible for the United States, but right now he's kind of firmly focused on England. This is a player that I don't think he's been talked about enough because he hasn't really broken into the NYCFC first team. He's the backup left back, and he's going to be that. He's a first team player. He's not going to be the second team. His athletic ability is elite. And that's part of the reason why he's able to get into the first team right now, because he can hold up against adult professionals. You don't have to worry about it. Like, that part's going to be great. From what I've been told, all of these teams in England love him, right? And all of them are ready to bid when he turns 18, even though, like, they don't need to wait until he's 18 because he has that English passport. But, look, he's trained with Manchester City, obviously NYCFC connection. They love him. There's a lot of other big teams in England that love him. There are some really highly respected developmental clubs that really like him as well. It's not about if he moves. It's about him choosing what he wants, whether it's I'll go to Manchester City and then be loaned, or I'll go to, let's say, Southampton or Watford or Brighton, right, and try to break into the first team. And Brighton's probably might be a little bit too much of a stretch given how good they are, but you get the point. It's Manchester City, Arsenal, Manchester United, or it's Southampton, Watford, Brighton kind of thing, right? He'll have those options, and I'm really excited to watch him play this year. Kevin O'Toole's a starter. Christian McFarland's going to get plenty of minutes. Number 8, Nimfasha Barichimas. I talked about him last week, or last video. I don't even know. Time is a flat circle. 15 years old. Look, this kid played more than 60 minutes with Charlotte against San Jose in a preseason game. They won 1-0. I kept forgetting there was a 15-year-old out in the field, and that's kind of the best compliment I can give you. His next preseason game, they played against Phoenix Rising, a USL team, a good USL team, I want to add. He scored against them. It was a nice goal. From what I was told, he played well early, and then Phoenix said, all right, screw this kid, and then just started kicking him, right? Like any team would do to a player giving them problems, and a player who's 15 years old, so he's not as physically developed as these adults. And he adapted and was able to continue to perform or get better throughout the game. So that's a really good quality. What I've been told is that the coaching staff wants him in the first team. Again, I think he's going to get MLS Next Pro minutes this year because he's 15. But for me, I think I'd be surprised if he's not that he's not on the bench week 1 for Charlotte's first game. And honest to God, I'd be surprised if he doesn't debut within those first 2 games, if not week 1, depending on the game state. So look, I can't say enough good things about this player. Bayern Munich love him. They've had him over for training. Who knows what will happen with development. But one thing that has been floated to me by somebody is that I could see this kid being the new league record outbound transfer, when he's ready and when that happens. And look, that doesn't mean it's 100% going to happen, but there is not many kids you can say, and I wouldn't just laugh at you for saying, oh yeah, he could break the record. Like $29 million is a whole lot of money, right? I could see it if he develops, if he continues on this path. So look, it's high praise. There's a lot of development to go. Again, he's 15. He's a child. I'm always cautious about overhyping these young players. They're just kids, man. But he's in the first team and cautiously optimistic about where he's going. I probably could have had him in the above group, but I'm going to kind of just put him on his own for right now. Number 7, soon to be, if not, maybe announced by the time I'm editing this video, New York City FC center forward, Jovan Mijatovic. He's going to a category on his own because he was signed for $8.6 million. He already had 9 first-team goals, 3 assists in 1,000 minutes with Red Star Belgrade. He is a hugely rated Serbian youth international center forward. So he's already got the first-team minutes, so I didn't want to lump him in with the last one. And I think that he's more advanced than Augustin Ojeda, Fidel Barajas, and some of those other players. And honestly, I'm ready to move this kid up. As once I start seeing him play, I think it would just be very disingenuous if I threw him in the top 3 or top 5, just because I watched him on YouTube and because NYCFC told me he was good, right? Like, so this one, it's tough when you haven't seen a kid play. But look, just looking at his numbers again, 9 goals, 3 assists in 1,000 minutes for a teenage center forward for Red Star Belgrade. $8.6 million fee to NYCFC, City Football Group, whatever. I don't think he's going to be in MLS very long. I think he's going to be back in Europe at some point. I think he's going to be the starting center forward for NYCFC, which, again, it's difficult to rely on teenage attackers, and particularly a team that with aspirations like NYCFC. I think that he's just going to be the starter. I think that he's, going to buck that kind of trend of that the inconsistencies among young players. He'll have his struggles, his stumbles. But from what I'm hearing, like, this kid is really legit, and he's ready right now. So enjoy him for hopefully as long as he's in MLS, if all things go to plan. But yeah, category of his own right now, Jovan Mijatovic. All right, the top 6 here. I tried to value, all of these players on this top 15 have huge potential. To be in the top 5, top 6, I wanted to blend huge potential, but also they've already proven quality in MLS or elsewhere or youth national teams, whatever. And I think these 6 players are awesome. So number 6, 5, and 4, I'm going to group put in the same group. Number 6, Ben Kremasky, Inter Miami. Number 5, Owen Wolf, Alston FC. And number 4, Chris Brady, Chicago Fire. Start with Kremasky, 18 years old. He had 41 appearances across all competitions last year for Inter Miami. He fits so well. He understands space and how to interpret space so well. That's why he fits great with Messi and Busquets and Alba and all them. Because he's not a high usage player. He doesn't get on the ball and complete 100 passes in a game. What he does is understand space. It reminds me of like Jonathan Osorio with Toronto FC when they had Josie Altidore and Sebastian Giovinco and Victor Vazquez. Osorio wasn't a high usage player, so he fit so well with them. And he understood and interpreted space so very well that he was kind of a perfect fit. That's what I kind of see with Ben Kremasky. He's like a box-to-box kind of midfielder. He's a little bit positionless sometimes because, again, he doesn't get on the ball enough to really call him a true center mid. But, like, playing in a 4-3-3 or a 5-3-2 that Miami will play, he's going to just find a lot of space, get on the ball, late arriving runs into the box, and going to keep developing. Unfortunately, right now, he's out for a couple months for hernia surgery, I believe. So he's not available for a little bit, but I have no doubts that he'll walk right back into the team when he's fit. He's a U.S. Youth International. That's who he's been with recently. He's also eligible for Argentina. He's been in camps with them, but lately he's been with the United States. But again, dual national panic. That's one to watch. Number 5, Owen Wolf, just slightly ahead of Ben Kromatsky for me. I don't know which one has the higher ceiling, but Owen Wolf is fit right now, so slight tiebreaker. The 19-year-old is a key starter for Austin FC. He was a lone bright spot in a very, very bad team last year. He had 31 appearances last season, and that included him leaving for the U20 World Cup to play with the United States, where he's a key player. He had 84% pass accuracy. I think that he can play as an 8. He can play as an inverted winger and like kind of in those half spaces, like a kind of central midfielder, but starting on the left of a 4-3-3. I think he's just a really intelligent player, and he's got that wisdom beyond his years. I guess that's what happens when you come from a family of a former professional / current coach. His father, Josh Wolf, is his coach right now. One day in the very near future, I think he'll be in Europe. This year, he's a no doubt about it starting central midfielder or inverted left winger. Whatever they need, he'll be the starter. I'm really looking forward to watching him play this year. Number 4, Chris Brady. He won the starting spot, goalkeeper for the Chicago Fire, in his age 19 season last year after Gaga Sonina went to Chelsea for up to $15 million. Well done, Chicago Fire, for the development and this goalkeeper factory that they're pulling out. And well done to the coaching staff and front office for trusting teenage goalkeepers and letting them play through some mistakes. Chris Brady, I go back and forth. I still think Gaga Sonina is a little bit higher ceiling than him, but there's a real argument to be made that Chris Brady is the better prospect. Brady is a better shot stopper. He had less mistakes. He was better last year than Gaga Sonina was in his final year for Chicago before he went to Chelsea. Like I feel very confident in that. In his age 19 season, he was in the 60th percentile in MLS in post-shot expected goals minus goals against. Call me crazy. What I care most about for a goalkeeper is how they stop shots rather than how they pass out of the back. I know, it's a weird concept, right? So he's an above-average goalkeeper in MLS at age 19. That's legit, man. Like, this kid is going to be sold for a lot of money. This kid is awesome. And, again, I struggled with keeping him out of the top 3. Again, I think that the top 6 is pretty interchangeable. Top 7, if Mijalovic is as good as I think he's going to be. Because, no, we don't really know, right? Like, development is difficult to track. So I would really bunch the top 7, really, for this year. High ups for all these guys. But, again, Chris Brady, whether you think he's 1st, 4th, or 7th, that's all fair. I'm open to all these arguments. All right, on to the top 3. And, again, I know it's boring to continue trying to put nuance and context to this, but you could reorder the top 3 any way you like. I kind of went back and forth on this, but here's where I landed. Number 3, Atlanta United's Caleb Wiley. Number 2, Inter Miami's Toto Aviles. And number 1, New England Revolution's Noel Buck. Start with Caleb Wiley, best left back prospect in the league. Simple as. He's already got 62 first-team appearances at age 19. He's already made his senior U.S. international debut by age 19. He was in the 67th percentile in progressive carries last year in MLS among fullbacks, 73rd percentile in progressive passes received. He started the year a little bit as a winger before they traded Andrew Gutman just because they wanted to get him on the field. He's going to start every game that he's fit for in a really good team and a team that accentuates its talents well. Look, he needs more reps defensively like any other young fullback across the world. It's the modern game. They usually it's failed wingers, right, that play fullback. He's going to be on the U.S. Olympic team. I think that they might play him on the wing or wide midfield just to get him and John Tolkien on the field at the same time. Whatever it is, they're going to be creative to make sure that both those players get a ton of minutes. Caleb Wiley, there hasn't been a ton of transfer buzz around him, which is surprising given the nature of him. But what I can tell you and what I've tried to say in the past, a ton of teams in Europe have long had him on their radar. He's even before he signed his first team contract with Atlanta, he was a known commodity because of how good he was with the U.S. youth national teams before he signed a professional deal with Atlanta. Atlanta have rejected bids already for him. They just haven't been talked about too much. Like, they've rejected bids that were more than what they sold George Bello for. But Caleb Wiley, again, he's a mature kid. He's smart. He loves Atlanta. He knows that this is a brilliant place for his development, that he's going to start every game. He's in a system where he's going to get to attack. He's going to get the defensive reps that he needs. It's just a really good spot for him. George Bello did not make the correct transfer. It didn't work out. He went to Arminia Bielefeld, and they went back-to-back relegations, and now he's in Austria. Caleb Wiley saw that. It's not about the first European offer. It's about what's best for his development. And right now, Atlanta's best for his development. I think that there's going to be a big push for him in the summer. I'm going to imagine that Atlanta won't want to let him go until the end of the season. Maybe they do, the Brendan Aronson deal, right, where Red Bull Salzburg agreed the deal in the summer, early fall. that would go through in the winter. Same thing with New England Revolution and Tajon Buchanan. That's my expectation for Caleb Wiley, because I think that a lot of teams are going to try to wrap this up before the Olympics start, because values go up in these international tournaments. So Caleb Wiley, really good player. Number 3. Number 2, Tomas Avila, center back, Inter Miami, 20 years old, Argentine Youth International. He was a dual national with Chile. He switched to Argentina to represent them youth internationally. He's the most expensive center back in MLS history at $7 million. Miami paid Racing Club for him. Look, he's crucial to whatever Miami does this year. Honestly, for me, he's probably their most important non-big name, just because he's so very good, and they need him to be not just good and also fit. He needs to play more or less every game, right? He made 20 apps for Racing Club last year and 13 for Miami after joining them in the summer. So that's, his age 19 season or whatever. He had 33 appearances. That's really good for a young center back. He covers ground so very well. He wins the ball so very well. The way that they're going to play is he's going to be their ground coverer. He's going to be the hunter, the ball winner. He's going to be, whether it's when they play in a back 3 or a flat back 4 where he just has one center back partner. He's just going to go out and win the ball. And the idea is then to give it to Sergio Busquets, right? He was in the 99th percentile among MLS center backs and tackles last year, 91st percentile in interceptions, and 57% in progressive ball carries. Some of this is game states. In MLS play, Messi missed several games, and Miami were not that good. They were defending more. So Tomas Aviles had a lot more opportunities to win the ball. But again, he's, I think, a fantastic fit with his team. He's somebody who I very, very much see going into the senior Argentine national team, which, again, is just a crazy sentence to say about MLS that you wouldn't even dream of 3 years ago for, again, the reigning World Cup champions to have, being looking at MLS for several players into their national team. Again, Tomas Aviles, I rate him very, very highly. Number 2. Number 1, Noel Buck, 18 years old. He turns 19 in April. He's an England youth international. He's already got 83 career appearances. He's 18 years old. He already has played 83 professional games. 39 of those were in the first team with the New England Revolution, but he's played for their second team, both in MLS Next Pro and in USL League One. That's incredible at his age, right? And he's going to be a very key player for the Revs again this year, just like Esmir Baraktevic. He's eligible for the United States, but not only is he just part of the English youth setup, he's starting for them. He's a regular for those U19s. He's a regular in a team that has Manchester United's Kobe Mano, Sunderland's Jobe Bellingham, Jude's younger brother. You're just going down the list. There's so many high-level English players in that U19 team that he's playing ahead of, and competing with. Noel Buck, I was surprised that more bids didn't come in the winter. It wasn't urgent. Same thing with Caleb Wiley. Like, Buck knows he's in a great spot. He's going to play. No rush, right? There should be offers coming in the summer, and again, maybe it'll be the case of there's bids this summer for a winter deal, because I think that kind of makes most sense for everybody, but whatever. And again, same thing like Christian McFarland. So many English teams love him. Like, you can name any Premier League team or top championship team, and the answer is likely yes. He, like McFarland, is going to have a decision to make. Do I go to Arsenal or Manchester City or Tottenham and then probably get loaned somewhere? Or do I go to Sheffield United, Watford, whatever, and challenge for first team minutes, but you worry about either playing in the championship or being relegated or being in a relegation fight, right? What's better for my development? So that'll be interesting to see what happens. And the other pathway is, like, Club Brugge were interested in him. Do you go to a Club Brugge? Do you go to Standard Liège? Do you go to a Feyenoord or PSV? A bigger team in a non-top 5 league, a Red Bull Salzburg, like Brendan Aronson did. I'm not sure. I'm still assuming that it's going to be England, maybe Germany. But with the English passport, being on the England youth national team, it would make a lot of sense. And my best guess, my best educated guess from the info that I have, is that he'll end up in England. But you never know. We'll see what offers come and what the projects are. Noel Buck, number 1 on my completely arbitrary YouTube rankings. I hope that there's a trophy presentation for him, and he's very proud of this accolade. All right, that'll do it for today. These young players, man, it's a really exciting time in MLS. My favorite part about this league is I don't ever want it to not. I always want it to. My favorite part about this league is just the different storylines and narratives, and there's something for everybody, right? It's always going to be a home for Lionel Messi, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Steven Gerrard, even though he was bad with the Galaxy, right? I go on down the list of these big names, these big draws. Olivier Giroud, hopefully this summer. But the lifeblood of this league is development now. That's what's raising the quality, from whether it be the academy system, the fruits of the labor of a decade ago or 14 years ago, overhauling the academy system. They're producing so much better talent now. The scouting has gotten so much better. So players like Tomas Aviles and Milan Jovanovic, sorry. Milan Jovanovic, former Liverpool flop, is in my head, and that's mean to Jovan Mijatovic because that guy sucks. Anyway, whether it's developing homegrown players, or identifying and convincing some of the highly rated players in South America and now also Europe to come to MLS. There are many different pathways you can get. Again, big names, rising talents, good quality, American, Canadian, Mexican, but also European, South American. That's what I like. And so, again, it was not easy to pick 15 players for age 20 or younger, which just goes to show where this league is right now. I'll do it today. We are less than a week away from the season starting. We'll have more preview stuff coming next week. Again, I'm open to whatever you guys want. I've heard, I read the comments, as I keep saying here. I'm too online. There's been some suggestions. We'll do an AMA at some point here, but there's enough to get to right now. We can keep pushing the AMA off. Little industry secret. We do mailbags and AMAs when we don't have any good ideas. And so, yeah, we have some good ideas right now with the season starting. So we'll revisit that in the future. Cheers, everybody.